replacement of the existing building and construction of surrounding site in the public facilities zone located at 220 North Temple Hill Drive. Over to you, Dustin.
Thank you. So the property with the existing temple is where we're looking today on this one, and they're looking to relocate a new temple on the property in this location right there, and update the landscaping around the temple property, and they have a proposal to vacate the street to continue the temple grounds across to the other property near the field there. And here's some renderings and some elevations I'll show you of the project, and I've passed the materials board up to you guys there so you can take a look at those. There's some renderings they've done of the existing and the proposed. Just all the different sides there. So any questions that you have for staff?
I got sort of mixed messages about the street. So it will be removed. Is that the plan?
Yeah, they've submitted a street vacation request, so that will go to the city council.
Okay.
To vacate this street down the center.
So if you go to the next slide, 2 slides down, these renderings here, bottom right, that's with the existing street. Okay. Okay. So that's not the proposal. The hope is that that will not actually be, even though that is the new building. Got it. Okay. Comparison of the structure, but not the street change. Got it. Okay.
Can I see where the cars will be entering? I couldn't tell on the diagram.
So they'll be entering where the street was here and down here.
Oh, so they will drive in there?
Yeah, that'll still be vehicular access. It just wouldn't be a street any longer.
Okay.
Can you go back to show the current footprint of where the temple is now? Okay. And so it's just shifted a little bit to the west, it looks like.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I read through the notes. Are there any design standards that you think we should be kind of keeping in mind today?
Yeah, we don't see any issues with the proposed materials or anything. I feel like it would be complying and high-end materials as you'd expect on it, and so we don't have any issues.
Thanks. Usually we open it up to the representatives to kind of talk us through if you'd like, or we can just begin discussing.
I'm Jonathan Dazley. I'll just introduce who's here. How's that? So again, I'm Jonathan Dazley. I'm the project manager on the architects team, but with me, we have Chris Robbins. He's the project manager with the LDS Church. Jeff Long is a project manager with the construction team, Westland Construction. Vince Alcott is our architect, landscape architect. And Randy Knight is our principal in charge with MHTN and our design lead. So that's the team I brought with me, my support group here. So, and we're more than willing to entertain questions.
Is there anything that architecturally you'd like to sell us on? Why decisions were made? Anything like that, if you care to share, or? I guess I just bring it up because there's an awful lot of rhetoric about the previous architectural design and why it was made. So does this one have any backstory, or is it just a new building?
It's a new building, but it's also much larger. You saw the massing, right? That's out of need because there's a greater need for capacity. You also saw that, might as well explain that elephant in the room is that we pulled it down the hillside and turned it so it's centered down the property. Just that was just the nuance, right? The other parts are is it's tired. There's things that are the end of life, that need to be dealt with. I've modified a lot of historic buildings and other contemporary buildings for the church, and they just seems like about the 45 to 50, maybe 60 years, a square D breaker doesn't exist anymore, or a pump is on its last leg or had 5 motors on it and things like that. And the facade is in need of issues, as well as just needs to be. The biggest one is the growth and the need for, and since this property is large enough, we could put something larger on there. Great positives are, if you go to the facade color drawing.
Can we see the facade?
Yeah, that's a good one. If you go to the one that shows all the difference in material, you're going to have stone on this. That's one. 2 is what's endearing. That's like forever. Then there's a lot of art glass. The art glass will be intense, and so those are the 2 I would call it the defining features of the exterior is that we're going to stone facade and then a fair amount of this art glass features, which are typical of a lot of the newer temples. If you go up and down the valley and seen them in construction, or particularly when late developers and Orum's coming up and Linden and so on. It's and Saratoga, right? There's a lot of art glass and a lot of art. It's just kind of like a required feature in the design. So that's there. And those are the bigger issues. It's nice. The vacation, just to speak to that, is to get so we can. It's minor safety issue because you've got public, private walking thing, but is to get the parking because the larger building, you get all the parking on as much as we can on that property, and that really helps because the street is like hardly ever used except for access. It's already acting like an access, but it's a sea of asphalt. Now we're going to turn it into a sea of vegetation and water and features, right? So that's the short, condensed version of why and what.
Can you talk us through a little bit about the increased scale? There was a public letter. We'll do public comment in a little bit as well if there's anyone here. But talk us through the building scale changes that necessitate the increased parking surface area, because there's been some concern that there's just a lot more stalls in this new design than in the existing one.
Well, that's it. At the beginning, one of the drivers is there's a lot more need in the public to access, and the growth, from the training center to just the public and so on and so forth. So the temple since the space was there, we could, and we made it larger to do that. So so that more patrons could be accommodated, and therefore the parking. And there was some issues about, well, okay, what about on-site? So we proposed the around the edge parking, because people parked anyway, because those streets are very wide anyway. And hopefully we've dealt with that and met the requirements. So added lots of bike parking, things like that. So made it very sustainable, usable, and the size is that required.
Okay, and was the number of stalls specified just to meet the minimum parking requirement, or does it exceed the minimum parking requirement for the?
There could be peaks when it exceeds, so it will flow out into around the parking around the outside, and if there's something even bigger, then there's a stake center across the street. But that was a yes and a therefore.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
sorry. I'm Chris Robbins, so I'm the senior project manager for the project for the church. Thank you.
there anyone here for public comment today? Okay, I'll just reiterate what we received in the form of a letter as far as concerns for this building. And mostly it revolved around the number of parking stalls and from that person's perspective, dramatic increase in parking versus what the existing parking offers. I don't know that it's necessarily within the purview of the design review committee though, to like get into whether or not it's too much parking or not. I think, but from a principal's perspective, making sure that the parking lot feels pleasant for everybody and not just a sea of land or a sea of asphalt. It did look, Sandy, if you could go back to the site plan where we can see the parking. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, to me, this feels like there has been a real effort made to make the parking as pleasant as it possibly can be, right? I think though, I'm kind of curious about foot access off of 9th. I know that there are students and people, missionaries from the MTC that will be walking up there. Maybe if someone wants to just talk us through what the approach feels like and how well that's been addressed.
Sure, Randy Knight. Yeah, you're right. There is a lot of pedestrian flow to the site, particularly from the MTC. They get a lot of students coming on foot. And one of the challenges with the existing configuration is the pedestrian pathways drop people kind of at the corner of a parking lot, and it's not a very safe condition. And so one of the improvements in the site plan retains a portion of the pathway that goes through the playing fields, but it redirects it to that central axis, on axis with the temple, where there are safer crossings through parking areas. And there's also a very large expansion in the number of bike stalls, both temporary and long-term, that are being accommodated closer to the temple. So this is your question.
Yeah, thanks. I feel like that was thoughtfully addressed in the design. I appreciate that. I think, yeah, go ahead.
If we could just go to the facade again, okay, that's actually a good one. Yeah. Okay. That actually answers my question. I think I was just curious where the primary pedestrian entrance was going to be. And it appears that it's those 3 arches just behind the fountain. That's right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, west, facing the west still.
Okay. That was all.
The only other sort of public comment that seemed to be coming up regularly was the increased height. Especially if, Sandy, if we could go to the comparison of the existing building, yeah, this one, that it didn't feel quite in scale with the neighborhood. I'm curious from the new programmatic requirements of the building, is there anything you can do to shrink it, or is it all volume that's being used for the increased space and capacity?
The footprint at grade is relatively similar to the existing. But in the attempt to add the additional program area that the church required, the upper floors, and you can see that in the side-by-side here, the upper stories are both taller and broader. Mm-hmm. And because of that, in order to get the massing of the building to feel not like one of the criticisms of the existing building is the sort of birthday candle kind of appearance, whether you appreciate that or not. But one of the directives to us from the client was to create a more graduated massing that also allowed the building to be the point steeple to be more of a beacon to the community and more visible, not only to the MTC, but also to the neighborhood.
It appears to be missing the golden man on top.
It is. Yeah, he will not be resuming his post. Yeah. And that's
just for the record, consistent with temple designs in the last 5 years. It's no longer something that you're seeing.
Okay. I think maybe I'll just raise one other concern I saw in public discourse, which was lack of distinguishing features from other temples in the area. That the Provo, the current temple is iconic, whether people like it or not, right? It is distinct and unique. And there were concerns that this did feel too similar in material palette and architectural styling. I don't know that it's within our purview either, though, to really comment on or make a requirement or recommendation on that. So I'll raise it so that it's brought up. But.
I would just ask, if you had a friend who asked that question, what would your answer be?
My answer would be give it a chance. I think it'll become a new icon. And it's also part of the directive from the client is to create a building that can hopefully remain relevant beyond the 50-60 year point in a style that may be more timeless, with features and forms that you see, persisting over the centuries. And so that's one of the main drivers for the potentially what people are seeing as kind of a more common appearance between temple designs. But I think the nature of the detail and the beauty that this new building will have, people will be excited about it and adopt it as their own.
Okay, thank you.
I would add too that a lot of the ornamental motifs, and you often go to other temple projects and they have specific ornamental and decorative elements that tie the building to its region or its place. That will definitely be more pronounced in the new building. It will definitely feel more like it is of the natural area, and hopefully that resonates with the patrons and the neighbors.
Okay, thanks. As it stands, I don't feel like we have any major requirements or recommendations.
I'll make a motion. Yeah, I motion to approve the project.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll now move to item number 2. James Chapman requests design review approval for 195 unit townhome development in the MDR zone located at 5544 North River Run Drive.
Thank you. So this is part of the River District overall development plan. So what we're looking at today is the residential architecture of the townhomes there in that red bubble. We've got up for you the updated landscape plan, and we've got renderings of the different building types, including the different color palettes. So there's Mountain Modern with 2 color palettes. There's Modern Farmhouse with 2 color palettes, and there's the Clubhouse. So we can go to those as you need. And the applicants are here as well to speak on the item if needed.
And you called these, okay, townhomes, not condos. So are these for sale products or? Okay.
It's all for rent.
For rent, okay.
Yep.
Can you walk us through in the site plan, what's the ratio of the 2 different styles? Are they?
I think it'd be more appropriate for the applicant to do that, if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Hello, this is Mojgan Momenan with the architects, Denili and Associates. So there is 2 architectural styles, as you saw on the elevations, Mountain Modern and Modern Farmhouse, and each of them in 2 different color schemes that you're seeing. So the idea is with the buildings that are clustered together to feel like a smaller village within the development. So those color schemes will be repeated around those clusters. And then the styles will be the same, but the color schemes will be different around those clusters. So you would have two different architectural styles. But as you can see, the color schemes has a lot of continuity with the main stucco color and the main materials, and have nuances of the accent colors. So to feel like the unity of the entire development and the coherence of it, but have also diversity and change in it. So it wouldn't be boring looking.
Okay, and in the site plan, can you help me understand the sort of ratio? Are these, is one half of the development mountain modern, the other one's farmhouse modern, or are they mixed throughout?
They are mixed and they're close to 50-50, but they're mixed. More of mountain modern, a little bit more than the farmhouse.
Okay.
Just because of how the buildings are situated.
And it looks like garage access is off sort of these back alleyways, right?
Yes,
Okay.
garage accesses are on the back alleyways. The townhomes all have individual entrances, as you can see on the landscape plan. They have kind of like courtyard feelings, and they have individual covered entrances, and the architectural style also gives personality to each unit for it to feel a little different. People would find their units easily. I live in Southern California in a development that after 20 years, I still somehow mix my house with the next door neighbor because it's just like that one. But we try to make that a little different here, although they're attached townhomes.
We see the,
Yes. So as you can see, again, the mountain modern and modern farmhouse styles kind of goes with the predominant styles in the area, but with a contemporary nuance to it. And I think the last comments was there was a lot of white color on the building. We tried to get away from the white and go to a very subtle. What I am seeing on the screen is very muted and great, but I hope your screen shows the colors better. So the covered porches, some of them turn into balconies on the second floors, and the other ones you can see that there are covered entrances with more accentuation of the stone veneer to kind of again make the entrances look different from the next door neighbor, and you can see the colors and the materials. So there is verticality to the buildings with the 2- and 3-story townhomes, but also there is you can see a horizontal separation between the first and second floors as the design guidelines of the city goes. So your eyes goes when you're walking the site or you're driving the site, you can have a pleasant experience looking at the buildings.
This product here,
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out where this goes.
Yes.
Is this part of is this going to be mounted vertically or?
Yes, that's the metal siding, but with the wood look. Unfortunately, they don't provide us with the smallest piece of sample that I can put on the color board, but you can see on the color board has the wood look to it. So it's an accent you can see on the elevations.
So this will be mounted vertically?
Vertically, absolutely,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's much durable than a wood siding or any wood actual finish, but it looks very clean and nice, and it sustains the elements a lot better.
But it makes me cry inside because it's fake. It's hard coming after the temple with real stone and all these other things.
Right, right, right. Well, there's always, positive and negative on everything.
So is there any pedestrian access on the back side where we're seeing these garage entrances, or is it exclusively car entrances?
If you don't mind going back to the site plan. Thank you. Yeah, the main access for the pedestrian is, and the townhome living is really you drive to your garage and then you access your house from the garage most of the time.
I don't have a problem. I was just curious if I was
Right.
reading that
Yeah,
accurately.
yeah.
Okay.
Of course, the site also offers amenities, a clubhouse, pool and spa with a pool house, a dog park on the lower left corner, on the northeast west corner, a maintenance building, trash enclosures, and all of those have pedestrian access.
From a design perspective, I don't have a lot of critique. There are I think this is the farmhouse modern. The mountain modern is the single plane roof.
Yes, the mountain
like it.
modern is the shed roofs and the farmhouse has the gable roofs.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think on the farmhouse modern, there's a few spots that the materials feel a little disjoint, mainly on the wood panel segment that goes from with the windows that break it up. But I think that would read as a vertical element.
Yeah,
the window
and that's
frames.
the intent. If you look at the architecture, of course, this is a 2D elevation, so you can't really see the articulation on the massing of the building, but those go around an exterior corner and then finish into an interior corner of the other materials. So I think in person and in a 3D model, it would look better. It's a four-sided architecture, so there is articulations on every side of the building.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comments? No? Okay. I didn't see any massive Facebook threads on this project either, like the temple, so. Yeah, any concerns from either of you?
No.
Okay. We have a motion?
Sure.
To pass,
To approve? With
to
no-
approve with no requirements or.
Okay, and I'll second that.
Right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. And we've reached the conclusion of the meeting today, so I will motion to close the meeting.
Cool. Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.